Hello and welcome to Sutton Impact Family Style, episode 370. I'm Jason.
Bill, and we'll start off. Let's start off in the West, Jay.
Yeah, 3-0.
I am totally mystified that this is 3-0 Mavericks. It could be 3-0 Timberwolves, but it just seems like no matter how well one plays or how bad one plays, the game comes down to the last 3 minutes, and Luke and Kyrie take over in the last 3 minutes, and just pull out the game.
Yeah.
And the Timberwolves have. I mean, you can see it coming. And the Timberwolves have no answer, and they don't have the physical talent to address it, I don't think.
No. I want to break a record on our podcast and bring up the Steelers and a non-Steeler related thing as fast as possible. I think this might be our record, Dad.
Okay.
For those that don't know, Minnesota's general manager was the assistant general manager of the Nuggets. And he built a team to beat the Nuggets. And they beat the Nuggets. But they're not really suited to beat anybody else necessarily, like the way the team is constructed. And it sort of made me think of like the early 2000s Ravens and Steelers, where both those teams were big, physical, punch you in the mouth teams that were designed to beat each other to win the division, but they were also like they weren't good matchups for the Patriots.
Right.
And that could be, Brady, Belichick, all that stuff, but like they were built to beat the team they had to beat to get to the next level, but then they were insufficiently built to beat the next level team. And the Timberwolves are a big brooding team. And then, the other problem with the Timberwolves is, and Shaq and Kenny and everybody make fun of them all the time, but Karl Anthony Towns has just been bad.
No, he's not. He's not. None of them have been. I mean, they showed the stat today that Kyrie and Luka are worth almost 60 points a game, and Karl Anthony Towns and Ant-Man are worth less than 40 points a game.
Yeah.
So there's 22 points. Look at 22-point differential right there.
And despite his draft status and his current contract status, like Towns has never been a Robin, let alone a Batman, right? I don't even know if he's a super friend. He's more like maybe a cop in that scenario that just happens to be there when Batman is around. Because he's not a great defender. He's not good at bringing the ball down the court, and he looks very awkward when he drives. And then if his three-pointer's not going, he really offers you very little.
Yes, and his three-pointer has not been going. I mean, he isn't shot as well as Naz Reid, and Naz Reid should be playing more minutes.
And
obviously.
that's the thing I've seen from most of the experts is like, your starting lineup was great against Denver, but against this Dallas lineup, you can't play two bigs like that. You can't play Rudy and Karl at the same time. And Naz Reid has been arguably the best player for the Timberwolves in the series, right?
I agree.
I mean, Karl Anthony. Ant has made some incredible plays, like that dunk in the third quarter that tied everything up, which was just nasty. But Naz Reid just has been a different level player to me, and they've got to keep him on the floor. He should no longer be sixth man of the year. He's won that. Now he should be a starter.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. And I told you, for the people watching,
The two bigs for Dallas have made all the difference in the world.
yeah,
And like I said, the Timberwolves have no answer for them. I mean, they are too slow to get to them, and they're getting lobbed on. And whenever they do get there, they just kick the ball out to the corner and hit three.
yeah, and it's not quite to Oklahoma City levels, but you watch the Mavs bench and you watch the way Gafford and Luka and Gafford and Kyrie and all these guys are interacting on the court. Like, there's a bond there. They seem to really be, they're having fun.
Yeah.
They're a team. Like they believe in each other. Like, Gafford was a trade deadline guy. Lively was a draft pick. PJ Washington was a trade deadline guy. And both those, both PJ Washington and Gafford, people thought they were afterthoughts. They thought the Nuggets, wasted their powder and should have waited till the summer. But I think they're showing everybody they were right because those guys look awesome.
They picked up the exact right pieces. At least they're the exact right pieces to beat the Timberwolves.
And in a year,
the exact right pieces to beat the Celtics. We'll have to see. But in fact, let's talk about the Celtics and the Pacers. I mean, if Halliburton's not going to play, I mean, I don't I just can't see that game going beyond 4.
No. And as a Celtic fan, you're super excited because Porzingis isn't even needed. Like, we still don't know how healthy he'll be, on June 6th when the finals start. But the fact that you've been able to get all the way through without really needing him has been fantastic for you.
Oh, no doubt. And if the Mavs sweep and Luka gets the rest till June 6th, that's a great thing too.
Yeah. And it should be, because you got Drew and Derek White to throw at, Kyrie, and you got Jalen and Tatum to throw at Luka as far as defensive matchups go, which puts them probably in a better position than almost any team in the NBA as far as two. Very few people can match up with Luka Doncic, right? Physically,
Obviously, the answer is not anybody on the Timberwolves.
Not anybody on the Timberwolves, but you feel like Jaylen Brown, who's an excellent defender at 6'8", 6'9", and Jason Tatum was no slouch either. They can at least make him work a little bit. Now, how that affects him on the offensive end, I have no idea, but that seems like, unless the impossible happens, that's the matchup.
And I think that looks like a really enticing matchup.
Yeah, I'm very excited to watch that. And also, I guess, special shout out to, Derek Lively, who was the 12th pick in the draft this year, who I don't think has missed a shot in the conference finals. They're all lob dunks, but he's been playing really well. Because, when you're in the same rookie class as Victor Wembanyama, and Chet Holmgren is also a rookie, and you just kind of get lost in the shuffle. But he was fantastic as a rookie for them.
I agree. And, the hustle and the speed is just way too much for the Timberwolves to deal with.
Yeah. And I don't really know, Ant's 22. I don't really know what else he can do on it, because I feel like, they are basically telling.
Well, it's almost been like they've been coaching like Belichick would do.
Yeah.
They've decided he's got to be neutralized, so all the resources are going against him, and they're saying beat us with your other 4 guys, and they can't do that.
Which is the infuriating part of leaving Rudy. Either Towns or Rudy on the floor, because it's like Rudy's not an offensive player at all, and Towns
he's less than not an offensive player at all.
Yeah.
He's absolutely hideous. Under the hoop wide open. He's not a guarantee he's going to score.
No, and then Towns has been so bad that keeping both those guys out there just is like, what is the point? Because you don't need the size. I don't know. And then the funny moment I saw, there was some people have not been happy with Draymond Green being part of NBA Countdown or on TNT, but it was Luka, Shaq, Kenny, Draymond, Ernie, and Charles, and they was talking. It was after Luka hit the step back 3 on Rudy Gobert. And Luka was trying to be, as gracious as possible, but they were like, that's the matchup you wanted. You wanted Rudy one-on-one. And he was like, yeah, yes, I did. And then they all laughed when they said, yeah, we wanted the Defensive Player of the Year. Like, they don't even think he's the Defensive Player of the Year. So, And I'm not saying he's a bad player by any stretch. He's just a very,
This is one of those matchups for him that's just terrible.
Yeah, which makes it tough for
him. He's a fish out of water the entire game against the Mavericks.
Yeah, I think Barkley and Shaq both said he seems like he's out of our era more so than the new era.
He can't. He's not. You see him, turning around to get dunked on. He's watching the dunk because he's not there.
Yeah, no, he does not look. And it was the same thing the Nuggets were doing in the last series that was driving everybody crazy, which is you've got your lead scorer, whether it's Luka or Kyrie coming down the lane. And no matter how impressive those guys are offensively, you can't leave a dunker wide open under the basket, right? That's bad, especially because those guys are going to find him for an easy lob dunk. And it's like, stay with your man, hope help comes from somewhere else, or hope the guy guarding him does a good job. You can't just give a wide open dunk, which is what keeps happening over and over in these games. So they said the Mavericks have, I think, 55 lob dunks in the playoffs, which is a record by 30-something dunks. And we're not even at the finals yet.
Well, you know what Dallas is accomplished?
I don't.
To get people to quit thinking that Anthony Edwards is the next Michael Jordan.
They have done that.
We haven't heard that in that whole series. The dunk was nice, but he's not the next Michael Jordan.
No. To be fair, he is 22. So.
Yep.
And then, as far as legacies go, this has done a lot for Kyrie too, right?
Yeah, Kyrie has been very efficient. a killer, a great player like he's always been, and he hasn't been a sideshow. He hasn't been a distraction.
No.
He's been focused on basketball.
And it's nice for everybody to get to see the Kyrie that everybody in the NBA talk. Like, you've talked to NBA players or not talked to them or listened to them, and they're all like, Kyrie's the best. Kyrie's, and you're like, what? But because it's just been so long since we've seen it consistently, and we have this season, and it's fun to watch.
Well, what are your observations on Indiana?
There just seems to be missing something. And I know Halliburton's been, this has not been his best year. I think they're a very plucky team. They're almost like a softer version of the Knicks, where I think they're a hard team to root against, and I think you enjoy them. But they're missing something that's going to keep them from being a championship contender. And I don't know if it's another wing, another scorer, like somebody on that team is just not. I don't know what it is, but they're just missing something.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Halliburton has another level. Than even when you see him at his best, I don't know if he's the guy that can be like, that guy. Yeah. And Boston is hard to. They just haven't been challenged the entire playoffs.
No.
Because they'll lose a stupid, where it looks like they're taking the night off is the only games they've lost. So I feel like we're kind of.
You think they'll go tonight, or you think it'll be a 4-1 series?
I think they're going to close it out. I think it's tough when you're down your best player who's probably not going to play, and Halliburton, and if he does, it's going to be limited. You're down 3-0, and it just doesn't feel, I'd like to see Boston just close them out, to have more faith in Boston in the finals, too. What do you think?
I think they're both 4-0.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be merciful if they were.
I think so.
And then teams rest up. Now, I'm not crazy about waiting till the 6th to resume. I'm not a big fan of that. That seems like, you're going to lose some fans because people are going to move on to other things. You lose a little bit of viewer momentum, viewer interest because, it's not like the NFL. It's not like you're waiting for the Super Bowl. It's the NBA playoffs, finals. It's the best of 7, but it's just a time of year when the NBA is not necessarily dominating the airwaves to begin with.
Yeah, and it feels like if you knew there was at least going to be the potential for some time off, I would have liked to have scheduled, somehow bring since you're pushing the WNBA as hard as you are as the NBA, have a couple TNT games with Barkley and Shaq and that, the everybody's favorite crew, doing the pregame, mid-game, and post-game on a couple of WNBA games. Try to, do something. Because you're not, there's no draft. There's no free agency. You can only do so much trade speculation, and there's no games. It seems like you should fill the void with something. And it seems like they have nothing.
Yeah.
And again, the WNBA is on kind of a hot streak right now with, Caitlin Clark and other people. And I feel like, if you did one TNT game and you put your A-list crew on there and you got Barkley and Shaq and everybody, that might be a good way to go. I don't know. Just something to fill the airwaves, to take the space. Because otherwise we'll just talk OTAs.
Yeah.
And we'll get excited about, the free agent running back the Steelers signed from the Chiefs, who's probably just a camp body. But,
Yeah, there's not much going on.
No. We'll have a quick NFL moment. What did you think about Lamar Jackson losing 25 pounds? To play faster, he says.
I really don't think playing faster is the issue.
Yeah, I didn't either.
For Lamar Jackson.
He's terrifyingly fast.
I don't think that's it at all.
No.
I mean, he's terrifying the way he is. I don't think a lighter, maybe he's easier to tackle. Maybe I don't know if it's a good idea or not.
Yeah, I was like, from the outside looking in my, decades of watching football, a skinny quarterback is, that was the knock on Jaden Daniels, is he's a good runner, but he weighs like, a $180 soaking weight. And Lamar Jackson wasn't like jacked or thick by any stretch.
No.
And I don't know how much faster he could get on the field. So, just from a strictly human standpoint. Yeah, that was the only story that kind of stuck out this week, was like, okay. Do you, Lamar? As a Steelers fan, obviously there's a secretly rooting against it, but It just felt like that was one of those ones that came out, and I was like, that doesn't make a lot of sense. But okay.
Well, I got to kind of say one of the NFL innuendos of the week was that that the NFL was looking at some new international sites,
Oh yeah.
including Dublin and Melbourne, and I definitely think that's going to happen. I definitely think those are the two cities. I just think they were just throwing that out there, but I definitely think it's going to happen. I think the Steelers will play in Dublin in 26, and I think two of the teams that have the marketing rights in Australia will play in Melbourne in 26.
Yeah, that's a flight and a half right there.
That is a flight and a half.
Yeah. Oh, did
You
the
better
Steelers
figure that one out.
are our Steelers hosting the draft in 26? Did that get is that official?
That is official. In 26, yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think they
Green Bay next year and Pittsburgh the following year.
Yeah. I like that it's traveling like that. I think that's really cool.
I think it's smart too.
Like I said, there were
I
some.
think it's one of those things that gives people a chance to go to different cities and gives the hometown fans an opportunity to experience something. I think Pittsburgh will show up really, really well.
Yeah, I would have fired every producer that worked on it last year, and brought in some people that understand audio, and some better parts of telecasting. But yes, I still like the overall vibe of it. But I just thought they didn't know what they were doing. It seemed like it was watching like high school kids put on a production of a play. But I thought moving it around is smart.
And I actually think, I know they want to do it on the North Shore between two stadiums.
Yeah.
I actually think they should do it in the Point. I know they're going to use the Point for something, but I would do it in Point State Park, which could accommodate between 500 and 1 million people.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot. But at the very least, if they keep the same production crew, just realize that us hearing a bad audio of what's happening live over the people talking on TV is just always bad. No one enjoys that. Don't do that again. I don't know why you did it for 4 straight days. But
no idea. I want to take a minute and talk about mental health.
Okay.
The golfer that Grayson was playing, withdrew from the tournament on Friday for health reasons, and then committed suicide on Saturday. It's a sad story. I mean, somebody that needed help and tried to get help and was unable to deal with it. And I think that the more we realize that mental health is an illness, and we need to make sure that people get the help they need, and we make sure that we're understanding and we're compassionate. But we're having more and more and more of these stories.
Yeah.
And they're unfortunate, but it just shows how pervasive the issue is. It affects different people, different stages, different ways, different levels. But it's an area that needs to be addressed. And this is not a guy that was unsuccessful. He had won 2 PGA tournaments.
Yeah. No, I know.
But he just, I guess mentally he never thought he was good enough. And, he's put the pressure on himself. And it's just a sad story. And I want to shout out to my good friend Eric Hewson, who runs a foundation called We're All Just a Little Bit Crazy, which specializes in mental health for athletes and athletes' families.
Yeah. Very true.
On a lighter side, I love the promotion in Minnesota where the tattoo parlor offered $20 to have Naz Reid, if you wanted a Naz Reid tattoo for $20.
Yeah.
And they had over 200 people do it, including an 80-year-old grandmother.
Yeah, that's something.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like a fun kind of thing. Also, want to be critical that the Sport Business Journal offers some awards, and the Deal of the Year award, and I agree with this one 100%, was the Miami FC signing Messi. That was absolutely the deal of the year. That was a game changer for that franchise, MLS,
Oh yeah.
TV ratings, Apple TV, and everything else. I disagreed, though, that made them the franchise of the year, because without that move, they weren't doing anything
Right.
that made them a great franchise. And the Timberwolves were one of the teams that were nominated, and they've done a lot on and off the court, setting all kind of records before the season started, doing stuff with George Floyd Foundation. they've done a lot, and I thought they should have won franchise of the year. And I just think if you win deal of the year, and the deal is what makes your franchise, you shouldn't win franchise of the year. So I'm usually never critical of SPJ because I write for it, but I'm critical in this case.
Well, especially because Messi was already going to come over here. He'd already said that. And Miami was one of like 2 destinations he was only going to go to. So, it wasn't like some incredible marketing push and recruiting to get him over here. Like he basically wanted to be in Miami. So,
Yeah.
it was sort of one of those like, okay, we'll sign the check, which is great. And again, like you said, it's done wonders for that city. It was a great deal, but it wasn't a lot of effort on their part, from what I read.
No. Let's see. I'll switch gears and go to the Women's College World Series because it's all set now, and it's kind of interesting that it's almost chalk. So the teams in the final 8 are the teams that were seeded 1, 2, 4, 5, 8, and 14. So 3 and 7 didn't make it. Otherwise, it's chalk. But they are, the Big 12 has 3 teams.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State, Texas. The Pac-12, in their last athletic accomplishments, has UCLA and Stanford. The SEC has Alabama. The ACC has Duke. 3, 5, 6, 7. Who's the 18?
I don't know. I haven't paid attention that much.
So I'm looking forward to it. That starts on Thursday. And then the men's regionals, the 16 sites start this week. So being my Oklahoma State pride, I get to have my women in the College World Series, my men in the first round of the regionals. And they also won the Big 12 championship, beating number 1 seed Oklahoma. So that finally the last, at least the presumably last, Bedlam match might have taken place unless the women play in Oklahoma City or the men's team meets along the way in Omaha.
Okay. Oh, we forgot a very sad story. Bill Walton passed away today.
That's
great
a very
NBA
sad
legend.
story. One of the greatest players in the history of the NBA. A career that was cut short by injuries. And, Jason and I talked about this before on the show. If you're a big man and you have some kind of lower body injury to a foot or a knee or whatever it is, it's hard to recover. And Bill Walton had serious foot issues, but he died of cancer. But he was a very colorful broadcaster, always wore his heart on his sleeve, big Grateful Dead fan, and had one of the most incredible performances I've ever seen in the NCAA championship game, the Final Four. He went 21 for 22 against Memphis.
And people forget how good. Was it the 77 Blazers or the 80 Blazers? Or 78 Blazers? 77, right?
I think they were 78.
Yeah,
it was an incredible team.
He was like the Jokic of his day for that season. Just a dominant big. Because, I know a lot of people know him from like those last couple of years where he was like the 6th man on the Celtics, or obviously as, the jovial broadcaster. But like, he was incredible in the NBA before he got hurt.
Yep, and you were sitting on my lap as a 5-year-old watching the game.
Yeah, just absolutely
incredible. Watching on TV at 11 o'clock at night.
Well, before we move on to some food entertainment type stuff, is there anything happening in baseball that's got you excited besides our Paul Screen and his girlfriend in Pittsburgh?
Ohtani having just an amazing year playing on a winning team. I'm happy for him.
Yeah, that's great.
Although the Dodgers have lost 5 in a row. So maybe they're bouncing back to earth a little bit. But, I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the Kansas City Royals having a really good record. That's a team that hasn't been to the top for a while, and I'm excited for them.
Yeah.
And Kansas City in general. Some teams I just can't figure out. I don't know.
Ohtani's
is a story, absolute story. And he'll be pitching again, I think, tomorrow's Tuesday. I think he'll pitch Wednesday. And it'll be his first night game.
Oh, that's
He's
really cool.
pitched 3-day games so far.
Yeah, and, Even if you're not a Pirate fan, just from a baseball standpoint, he's just fun to watch.
Absolutely fun to watch.
Well, I have a couple entertainments for us, Dad.
Okay.
I finished The Jinx Part 2, which is the Robert Durst documentary. The reason I had a Part 2 is what he said on camera and what he got caught with on camera during the first documentary got him convicted, got the charges brought against him in the murder he was eventually convicted of, which is kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
He volunteers to do a documentary and he screws himself over. He was a terrible person, but I told Dad the one thing I kind of gave him props for is the DA, when Durst was on the stand, asked him, "Would you lie to help yourself if you were guilty?" And he said, "Yes, of course I would." And it's still like, I just thought that was an awesome, very ultimately honest thing to say, right?
Yeah, and I can't imagine anybody. I really can't imagine anybody saying no, I wouldn't.
Yeah. And be like, "No, sir,
But
you."
but he probably said it with some enthusiasm too.
Yeah, it was just like, just so matter of fact, like, of course I would. It was just like, yeah. And again, he was a terrible person who did terrible things, but it was just that moment. I was just like, okay, I kind of respect it because nobody else would say that, but it's probably what everybody else would do.
Would volunteer.
Yeah, because everybody else would be like, of course I would never lie, and it's like, whatever. And then we're both watching Botkin. Is that how we pronounce it?
Yes.
On the Netflix. And it's just one season, right? It's a mini series of 7 episodes, as I believe, my understanding, right?
That's all it is so far, yeah. And I find it real. I watched the first episode and I was very intrigued.
And it takes place in Ireland, so it's got some beautiful backdrops for us, too.
And I like the ones that have it's got a humorous edge to it, as well as a good mystery. And I like that combination.
And I will say, on our end, we've watched 4 of the 7 episodes. And we still don't really have an idea as exactly what happened. I mean, we have some, there's still multiple good theories at this stage. And, 3 episodes to the end, which I think is pretty impressive.
Yeah, for sure.
Because sometimes, you know by episode 2, and not that it's not good television, but like there's no, this one has a lot of wheres it could go. So I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Mom and I are going to watch probably 2 or 3 episodes tonight.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance.
The first night, there's no NBA, there's no Women's World Series, there's no men's baseball, so there's no Pirate games, so it's a clean day. So we will be binging Bodkin tonight.
Yeah, I think you should.
Yeah.
And then I don't technically have any restaurant food moments, but we had a can of expiring pumpkin, right?
Okay.
So I took some pumpkin, some condensed milk, some eggs, and some Krusty's pancake batter, and I made pumpkin pie pancakes.
Ooh, how was it?
They were pretty good.
Yeah, I love pumpkin pie pancakes. The Griddle has my favorite pumpkin pie pancakes in the world in LA.
Yeah, because to get the you can't get the powder. You need the actual pureed pumpkin.
Yeah, you need real. Yep.
And then I would say, if anybody wants to attempt to use pureed pumpkin in a pancake, cook it at a lower temperature than you think, because you need it to cook a little longer than a normal pancake. So that's just a cooking tip we threw out there for you.
And like I said, if you're in LA, go to the Griddle. Get an order of, it's called Tis the Season pancakes. They're pumpkin pancakes with fresh whipped cream, fresh pumpkin pie mix on top, and powdered sugar on top, and it's phenomenal. And it's an order of 3 pancakes, and I defy you to eat more than, if you eat 2 of the 3, you're not human.
Oh, and I guess speaking of eating 2 out of 3 and not being human, Kobayashi, the great eating champion of the last 2 decades, retired, and he tweeted out, "I am no longer hungry," which I thought was a pretty fitting end to his career in the competitive eating field. He's the other one that's not Joey Chestnut, for people that don't know.
Yes.
But yeah, I thought that was a good tweet for him,
And I ordered some good takeout today from Fratelli's, which is, I was able to call it in, leave my house, and be back with the food in 19 minutes. And it was really good. I ordered Sicilian pizza. I ordered eggplant rollatini, baked ziti, and meatballs, and everything was really, really good. And so I'm excited that that place is less than a 10-minute drive from my house.
Nice.
Now, for some reason, DoorDash wasn't working with it today. Had some bad information, said it wasn't. And I called the guy up, and he goes, "Well, it's showing open on my app." I said, "Well, it's not showing open on my app. It says you're closed until June 12th." So he was a little surprised, but it was nice to go there and support like a small businessman that makes a great product. So it's good.
Yeah, and we've been less enthused with our Uber Eats slash DoorDates people lately. Like, normally they've been pretty good when they make a mistake, but we got Shake Shack like 2 weeks ago, and they put the burgers on top of the custard, so that when it got to our house,
Oh,
the custard was melted and the burgers were cold. So I of course went back to Uber Eats, and they were like, "Well, that's not really that's more of a packaging issue." And I'm like, "Well, if it's your business," and they're like, "Well, it's just a minute," and I'm like, "It's not an anomaly." I'm like, "It's pretty common sense. You shouldn't put ice cream and hot food together in the same bag." I'm like, "I don't even know what we're talking about." And it took 15 emails.
Whenever I get something like a salad or something from Chick-fil-A, or yogurt from Mom, it's always in a separate bag.
Yeah.
It's never in with the sandwich.
Which seemed common sense, but it took like, I think, close to 15 emails to finally get a refund for it. Because I was like, I have soup and cold burgers. Like, this isn't.
Yeah, it's not what I want.
Yeah. So I didn't appreciate that from the Uber Eats people. Yeah.
But once again, Jason and I will be together next week to do our show.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think if we do the show Sunday, we'll be together. If we wait till Monday, we won't be, but we'll see what we do. But the NBA Finals will be set. The Women's College World Series will be in full bloom. And we'll see what else is going on.
Yeah. All right, so till next week.